Banjo Land, Mike Heading here. I've got another bluegrass lesson for you today. This time we're going to go over the three most common movable chord shapes. F shape, D shape, bar shape. Say it with me now. F shape, D shape, bar shape. So you probably are familiar with these chords already, but what we're going to do is really drill some exercises on this lesson. Really make sure you know them. Again, it's one thing to be able to go, straight up the chords, but can you jump around between the different shapes? Can you add other chords and still find those shapes? We're going to work on a ton of stuff for this lesson. Just getting you moving all over the neck, really drilling those shapes. F shape, D shape, bar chord. So you know them inside and out. Again, it's one of those things where it's really going to unlock a lot of the fretboard of the banjo. Once you know how to do these shapes, you can move through them fluently. And I'll show you a bunch of licks, a bunch of ideas I'll use to work these positions, how to grab other notes outside of these shapes while you're working the positions, how to do minor versions, how to do seventh versions. We're going to break down a bunch of stuff in this lesson. This lesson is just going to be kind of a technique workout video. These are things you can apply to any song you're playing. We're going to get you moving all over the neck on the banjo. On this one, you can use these for backup. You can use these for lead. These are must-know positions and ideas that if you want to play bluegrass banjo. And if you're watching the preview of this lesson, you can head over to my website, MikeHeadingMusic.com, and grab the full-length lesson. You'll get access to watch all the videos, and you can download the tabs and the practice tracks. All right, here's the lesson for F shape, D shape, and bar chord exercises. All right, let's start breaking down this lesson for F shape, D shape, and bar chord exercises. So these are must-know movable shapes on the banjo. If you want to be able to quickly move around the neck, play different chord inversions, move stuff to different keys, there's so many applications for these chord shapes, and they're absolutely must-know if you want to play bluegrass banjo. So let's first start by making sure we've got the shapes down. You might have already, experienced these or played these before, but let's just double check and make sure we've got the shapes correct. So we're going to let's start with our F shape, G chord. We're going to take our third finger and put it on the 5th fret of the 4th string. Second finger, 4th fret, 3rd string. First finger, 3rd fret, 2nd string. And pinky up on the 5th fret of the 1st string. So that's our G chord. And it's commonly referred to the F shape, and I think that's because if you move it down 2 frets to the 3rd fret, that's your F chord, and that's kind of the first one you can learn, or the lowest one you can do, rather. That's why I think they call it the F shape. But that's commonly called the F shape, but it's a movable G chord. You could call it shape number 1 if you want, or the name doesn't matter as much. The more important thing is that you remember the shape and you can play it. So that's our F shape. Okay, our next one up is if we go up to the 9th fret with our 3rd finger on the 4th string, 7th fret, 3rd string with your 1st finger, 8th fret, 2nd string with your 2nd finger, and pinky up on the 9th fret. And that's called the D shape. That's another G chord, and that one's commonly the lower one you can do is the D chord. You might have done that one before, so that's why I think they call that the D shape. So basically you're moving this one up 1, 2, 3, 4 frets, and then you're flipping your 1st and 2nd finger. I kind of think of these 2 fingers as sliding on a track. I'm trying to keep those ones down. So that's our D shape. Next, we have our bar chord, or bar shape. We're going to slide our pinky up to the 12th fret. I'm going to put my 3rd finger on the 12th fret of the 2nd string. 2nd finger, 12th fret, 3rd string. And then I'm either going to leave the low string off, or you can try and get your 1st finger all the way down there. The other way you might see people do this is this way, with just 1 finger. I'll do that occasionally, but I don't like to do that quite as much. It really traps you from going backwards. You really have to flip into that shape. And I'll use that sometime, maybe if I was trying to grab some higher notes. But I really like to do it this way, because then I can grab notes going backwards, I can grab notes above. It's also easier to flip into my other shapes. The other reason I do it this way is because now my pinky can basically keep down, and I let that finger take over. So that's how I do that one. But you could also do it this way if you want. So that's the bar shape, okay? Those are our three shapes: F shape, D shape, and bar shape or chord. And then if we go back up to, what is that, 16, 15, and 17, so way up there, that's our F shape started over again. The other way you can find that one is if you add 12. So again, our octave, open and open, 12 to 12, that's where our notes start over. So if you added 12 to each of these numbers, 4, 3, and 5, we've got 16, 15, and 17. So that's our octave. So those are the three shapes. Say it with me now: F shape, D shape, bar, and then we're back to F shape. We'd even have one more D shape if we went way up here. Again, you could add 12 to each of these notes: 7, 8, and 9. Now we have, what is that, 19, 20, and 21. So again, if you learn those three shapes, you can play, you know, a specific chord multiple places on the neck. Each chord has an F-shaped version, a D-shaped version, and a bar chord version. And then it repeats. You know, if you had higher strings, you could go up and do another bar up there, but you run out of room. So let's think about a couple ways to practice that, okay? So first thing I recommend with students is get used to seeing these shapes without all the fingers down. So this is a very common thing I see beginners, sometimes even intermediate players get screwed up with. Because a lot of times you're basically going to be using these shapes, but I might be using just what I call partial chords. So I'm not pushing down all the notes. So let's start with just the top two strings. So second string and first string. You might see it like that. Just doing like the Foggy Mountain breakdown roll. And I can slide up to my next position. Again, I'm just using the top two strings. Again, connect that to the bigger shape. So when you see these positions in a lead song, you don't have to think of it as this new position. That's something I really see beginners struggle with, is they know the 4-finger version, but then they see maybe just a 2-finger version of it, and they don't recognize that that's the shape that they already know. That's a huge thing. The other way you could try it is doing your third string and first string. So now I'm leaving my third finger and first finger off. So maybe I do like a roll using the 5th string. So I'm doing thumb on the 3rd string and then 2 forward rolls. 5, 3, 1. Go up to your next shape. You know, so get used to any of those combinations, even if I'm just playing on the 2 low strings. Using like thumb, index there. Because basically in kind of real life banjo, you're going to experience these 4-finger chords in all different variations. The only time, or not, I wouldn't say the only time I ever put down all 4 fingers, but I mainly do that for like vamping. In kind of real life banjo, I'll very rarely just push down all the fingers, especially if I'm not playing those strings. It really kind of restricts you. You know, if I'm just playing on the top 2 strings, for example, you know, why am I putting down these other fingers? It's just going to kind of slow me down. I can also free my other fingers up to grab other notes if I leave them off. So that's the first thing to do, is get used to these chords in the 4-finger version, the 2-finger version, and any combination. Even if I'm just playing on the 2 lowest, you know, lowest and highest strings, get used to thinking that as F shape, D shape, bar shape, F shape. So that's the first thing I would do, is just get used to these positions. You know, do any kind of roll you want. I'm just using the 5th string like a backwards roll. You you really just want to get used to the positions, even if you're just strumming. You know, and I recommend saying them out loud: F shape, D shape, bar, F shape, you know. The other thing you can do eventually is practice skipping one and then coming down. So you'd have like F shape, bar chord, D shape, F shape. So now I'm skipping one and then going back to just, again, it's good practice to go straight up and down and play all of them, but it's also good to kind of mix them up in a different order to make sure you really know them. So maybe I'll go F shape, slide up to my high F shape, D shape, bar chord. You know, I'm just mixing them up, just really reinforcing that I know them, okay? So that'd be the first thing I'd do, is I would just run those on just a G chord. Okay, so where could I use that, right? Let's say I have a long section of G. Now I can, instead of maybe just rolling down here, you know, or rolling down here, you know, now I can add some kind of movement in the background. Maybe I go, something like that. Or maybe I change even faster. You know, I wouldn't worry about the roll, which roll you're doing as much at first. Really just get those positions to where they're so second nature, where you can just move around. And again, I'm always thinking of my anchor finger that keeps that position down, okay? Let's look at another example of that, of now let's actually change chords. So here's another way I might use this. Let's say I have a long section of G, so maybe 2 measures of G and then 2 measures of F, right? So maybe like something like Little Maggie, or maybe I'm playing more of like a jam grass song where I'm just kind of vamping, improvising over a G and F chord could sound really cool, right? So maybe I add those chords now, so I can do some walking moves. So maybe I do my G, now I slide down and do that same lick on my F shape chord. So same lick, but now over an F. So I got my F shape F chord, slide up to my D shape F chord, bar chord shape F chord, and then high F shape F chord. So all those notes will be 2 frets lower than my G. But really important is that I'm using the same fingering patterns, because that helps me train my muscle memory to really play those chords and keep them the same. So you can get some really cool sounds. Maybe I do something like, moving at different times. I'm really just trying to drill those positions, you know, do it with the forward roll. So you can get a lot of mileage with that. One thing, it's not that hard once you get it down, and I think it's cool because it kind of seems like you know a lot about the banjo. You're jumping all over the neck, but it's really not that hard. I think you can get that with some practice. And again, do the same thing, you know, try it with just 2 fingers maybe. You know, so you can get a lot of mileage with that, okay? And that's just taking that same shape, F shape, D shape, bar chord shape, and then F shape again, and just doing that over the different chords, okay? So that's the first thing I would do, is kind of just get familiar playing those shapes. You know, you can't get too much practice moving those around, mix them up in a different order. This is where it's really going to be on you as the student to really kind of take that, do that extra legwork, and mix these up until you really know them. You know, practice jumping around, practice staying on them for different lengths of time. There's a lot of stuff you can do to really drill those positions into your head. And again, I always say F shape, D shape, bar shape, as kind of stupid as it sounds. I think it's helpful to really reinforce those by saying it in your head or out loud, and really making sure you know those shapes. Okay, now let's look at adding a basic chord progression. So let's look at doing a G, C, D chord progression, and using some of those shapes. So we can use like the forward reverse roll would work really good. I might do this for backup or something like. So you do one forward reverse roll on each shape. And then we can go to our C. So now we're going to go to our F shape C chord at the 10th fret. Your pinky moves up one fret and your fingers switch back over. Now we're going to slide up to our D shape C chord up at 12, 13, and 14. And then we're going to go back down to 12, and that's our D chord. So that's our F shape D chord, and then our D shape D chord. So now we're taking a basic chord progression, doing F shape, D shape on each chord. F shape, D shape, F shape, D shape, and you could go back up to F shape here. You know, so you can do something like. It doesn't really matter what roll you do. Again, you can do the forward roll. I like sliding in between the positions. That seems to help kind of smooth it out a little bit. Again, you'll notice I leave my third finger off when I'm doing that one. It just frees it up. I think it's cleaner. You know, it's just another finger getting in the way.